source of funding too.
And if we got them up, if say they were successful and got the 112, that would basically bring their funding up to the level of last year. But in the meantime, that's maybe in the future getting that money. This is these ambulance services need this money now. I mean, they have gas bills to pay right now. So,
well, I somewhat come full circle in whether or not throwing in an additional 112 or 50,000 of that added to the 50,000 that's already here, we could achieve that long-range goal this year. Is that a possibility? It's a possibility. In the short-term loss, there would be 112,000 or a portion of that not available for some of the other projects that we have historically funded every year. But what greater use of those tobacco funds could we achieve by maybe putting some of those funds, if not all the funds, to a one-year goal of achieving this long-range goal of EMS? It's a philosophical situation that we all have to weigh individually. One other solution would be what we just did an hour ago, would be to give the direction of a level of funding to the CEO and have them come back with how they would create it and what it would achieve in a plan. It's another possibility.
I'd like to hear from Carmel because she deals with that agency and that group, and she might be more familiar than I am about how exactly that allocation works. So Carmel, would you weigh in on this discussion for a second, please?
Good afternoon. I'm Carmel Angelo, the Director for the Health and Human Services Agency. Mr. Mitchell, you're talking about the TSOC dollars? Is that right? Okay. There's actually a little over 200,000 that we have this year starting in January. Approximately 100,000 goes to the Community Foundation. What's left is 112,000, and that goes to the Tobacco Settlement Oversight Committee. They are beginning to meet now to look at the money and to release the request for proposal. How they structure it is that the money is allocated based on the initiatives from the Community Health Improvement Plan. Those initiatives are around access to care, alcohol and drug services, some senior services. We have talked to the Public Health Advisory Board and subsequently TSOC as well about this 112,000 and the possibility of using that money for the ambulance services, basically to support the infrastructure for emergency medical services. The response from the Public Health Advisory Board was that they did agree that there is a definite need in this county to support EMS. However, they were reluctant to just automatically allocate any part of the 112,000 to EMS. And their suggestion was that the ambulance agencies could certainly apply for the RFPs, and they could apply for some of the money. The grants go out in about $5,000-$10,000 increments. So what I have done is talk to some of the ambulance agencies about the possibility of applying for the money. What this will require, though, and we know that some of the volunteer agencies don't have the staff to actually write up a proposal and submit it. And it will require submission of proposals, and then those proposals are reviewed by the TSOC committee, and then the awards are made. So that's the process, and it is 112,000, and I am hoping that some of the EMS agencies will apply for the money. That's pretty much where we're at. You know, if I could comment, one more comment though on EMS, I think that, you know, so much of this is really, you know, even 200,000 is a Band-Aid when you think about this system. The actual system for emergency medical services in this rural community and other rural communities in this state is definitely in dire straits. The state EMSA authority is in the process of developing a statewide trauma system. If that statewide trauma system actually gets implemented within the next year or so, the advantage for us is that it will shed light on the fact that rural communities like ours and 80% of this state do not have the resources in EMS. I think that legislative action is really the way to go with emergency medical services, and I would certainly support and help this board do anything in the area of writing letters, trying to sponsor legislation around emergency medical services. Questions about TSOC?
To Ms. White.
Okay. I'm not adding on to anything you said, but I would like to talk about this $50,000. I want to make a proposal or recommendation to the board for consideration. There's about $40,000 additional revenue in the EMS budget for next fiscal year that has been earmarked towards defibrillators for the county that you might want to consider, if you want to consider using that instead to the fire districts. As well, there's a radio syncing fund that has about $7,000 to $8,000 sitting in it that is not earmarked for anything, and it's been sitting under the CEO's jurisdiction, basically, if you will, or discretion, if you will, that has just been accruing interest. That together will get you your 50.
Okay. To that.